It's a new year for New World, and here's a few things that I would like to see for New World and AGS to implement into their game going into this new year. My first thing on the list, and the most important thing for me, is an extra consumable slot. If you're in a war, you can only have your health pot, your regen pot, your oak flash, and then your cleansing potion, so you can't even have a mana potion, you can't have a hearty meal on the side. So there's always something you're missing. And if you're playing a healer or a mana hungry mage or whatever, you're going to miss out on cleanse or your oak flash or your dust. You're going to have to give something up, and you won't be on the same level as bruisers, since bruisers will have four consumables that is not just utility but actually provide them health. So I would see at least 6 consumable slots, so we can actually decide if we want to pop oak flash or gemstone dust, or even a mana pot for the mages and healers, of course. The next thing on the list for me is fixing the Great Axe charge. The Great Axe charge is very frustrating, since if you're in a PvP battle and you charge, your friendlies will block your charge. So basically you will run into your friendly player and get collision blocked by your friendly. So this means that if you're in a fight and you want to charge out of a fight, your friendly player or teammate can step into your line of sight of charge and block you, and basically this will cause your death. This is really frustrating. Why not make the ability like Whirlwind or even the Greatsword ability, where you just charge out and you can go through unit collision, and let us decide when to actually end the charge so we can damage a player. But it would be best if you make it so that friendlies do not stop your charge. The next big thing on my list is color-coded abilities. I think this would have been in the game a long time ago, since when somebody pops down a healing circle, you don't know if it's a friendly or it's an enemy. If somebody throws a grab ball on you, you don't know if it's a friendly or an enemy. Basically, give us color-coded abilities so we know if an ability is dangerous or not, or if it's a friendly ability and we can just follow up onto the ability. This is something that could be easily changed, and it actually should have been in the game, since there's already way older games than New World that has color-coded abilities, and this should have been something they should have thought about way ahead of time. Please give us color-coded abilities so we can actually play this game competitively. And I know a lot of people is going to say this is not a competitive game, but if you're doing PvP, you want to be competitive. Another thing in the game that I want to see is actually quest sharing. Lots of new MMOs or even older MMOs have quest sharing. When you want to play with your friend, you can't join them on the quest because you can't share the quest. This is something that limits the game, and it would be awesome if we get quest sharing. Maybe we get half the amount of rewards if we already did the quest, but if we want to help out a player with a quest, they can at least share the quest, and we won't do it just for nothing and waste our time. Next up on the list is actually regional trading servers or trading post, so we can see the full trading post of the whole region and not just the trading post of the server, so we can have a stable market throughout the region and not just on one server. This will reset the economy and help us to actually make way more gold by having more buyers and sellers. I also think that we should have instant servers. For example, Guild Wars does this really good. For example, if you're in a server in Guild Wars and there's too little players, you will transfer to another instant server. So this means that there's no queues and you basically get placed in a new instance. I don't know if Amazon Games can do this, since their server structure is not laid out for it, but it would be great if we can eliminate all server queues by having instant servers. For example, if you're in an instant server in Guild Wars and there's 0 players in that server, it will tell you that you will get a little luck or experience buff to travel to a new instant server that is a little bit fuller. So you actually get rewarded for teleporting to a fuller instant server. This in return allow us not to be in queues and cut down on the waiting time And of course, queues are not fun. Queues are something that is killing New World. The next thing on my wish list is that place the resilient perk and the ward perk, for example Angry Earth ward, in the same perk pool, so that the ward perks and the resilient perk can't roll on the same item. This will divide the armor into PvE armor and PvP armor, so we don't get stupid rolls when we craft an armor set or when we try to farm an armor set in the open world. There's no reason for a PvP perk and a PvE perk to roll together, and maybe even combine all of the ward perks into one perk. Having 5 different perks for each different mob is tedious, and it would just be better to have one armor set for all PvE content. So make a similar perk like Resilient but for PvE, so you take less damage from PvE mobs. Maybe just call it Ward or something. Another thing that I would like is to do away with all orbs. All the arena orbs and so forth, like the Siren Queen, those types of mobs do not require orbs. They are basically just there to farm and have fun with, so do away with orbs. The orbs is a bad system in the game, and actually it locks PvE content from the game. The game already has so little PvE content, why lock it behind orbs? Give us a daily cooldown or something that we can do, but do not give us orbs to unlock all of these little arena mobs where you just farm it for 5 seconds or 5 minutes and then you're done with it. Please just give us a daily cooldown or something, but allow us to farm these bosses in the world, but go do away with orbs. Orbs is old school, nobody wants orbs in the game. Another thing that I would like is actually upgrading your weapon into something special or legendary. Like for example in Guild Wars you can get a legendary greatsword and so forth, so it looks cool and you know that that player has actually put in some time with that weapon and they have mastered that weapon, so they can actually show off the weapon, and it just doesn't get any better stats, but it just looks cooler, and it actually looks like a legendary weapon, and it's not just a random skin on the weapon. Give it some extra cool effects and whatever, but make the weapon actually look legendary, make the armor look legendary. If you invested all of your gold into this gear, give us a way to actually progress the gear so it actually looks way better and cooler. Just make the game cool and fun. Don't just give us a bunch of stats to farm for, but give us something aspire to or to grow. Maybe the weapon gets a different look for different types of infusements we give it, so it actually looks like we've spent some time with the weapon. Also, another thing that I would like in New World is mini events. As you run through the world, mini events will pop up and actually it will give you good rewards. Not just some random rewards that we don't want. It will give us gold, it will give us some cool armor chests that we can farm for skins or something. Just mini events that pop up in the world that makes the game fun and gives us some content to do. But the important thing with these events is that they should be something that we want to do and not forced to do. It should be fun and it should be really cool. We need better repeatable content in the game other than dungeons and maybe arenas. Because basically the end game of New World is a little bit stale, since we always get new dungeons and we don't really get a new way of playing the game. We get the same content with just a different look. We need something different to entertain ourselves and not get bored with the game. Another thing that we need in New World is actually massive bosses that we can farm as maybe a 10-man group or a 20-man group. So these bosses will be part of our dailies maybe, but we can farm these bosses every day and it will give us some amazing looking loot. Maybe they even include items that we can craft towards our legendary greatsword or armor or whatever weapon. So they actually drop valuable things, and this boss is not just a boss to farm, but it's a boss to enjoy. It's a difficult boss and it has some mechanics to it, and it's actually fun. Something to do. I really want something to do that's fun and not boring or makes it useless to do, you know? So big bosses in New World that we can farm and enjoy. On another note, give us the ability to create groups of 10 to 20 people and allow us to actually choose a commander for the group, so we can see a commander icon on the group leader, so we can actually know where the leader is in the group. A lot of time in PvP we have to activate our mics just to see each other, and it's really difficult to find each other in a PvP situation since there's so many people around us and we can't even see our own group members while PvPing. It's hard to keep track of our members while PvPing, and it makes the job of the healer really difficult, and even to protect our own healer we have to ask him where he is on the map. But give us the ability to actually see our group members in a PvP fight and even in a PvE group. Highlight them in some different way than the enemy and other friendlies around us. As you know, the town boards and the PvP objectives in New World is really stale. For example, if you go to your faction giver, those missions are really stale. We need something better to do than just running PvP missions over and over again. Also, the town boards is silly. I think the town boards should give us rewards for actually doing OPRs, some game modes, doing any dungeon in the world, not just the dungeon in the area, but any dungeon in the world. So the town boards actually need to give us rewards and not just be some side thought on the side. I think you're leaving a lot of potential on the table with town boards, since a town board can even be a big world boss that we can go and hunt, and we will get a special buff for the town or whatever. But I'm thinking you should rethink town boards and give us better rewards for town boards and missions. You can always include OPR rewards on town boards as well. And speaking about rewards, the PvP track rewards needs improvement, and also we need a PvE track as well, just like the PvP track, but a PvE track so we can farm dungeons and progress on the PvE track as well. Why are we leaving the PvE ears out and just the PvPers are getting a track? Both playstyles has value in the game, and this will motivate a lot more people to actually do PvE and get some cool rewards. But the rewards of the PvP track and the PvE track should be something that we want, and it should be cool. It shouldn't just be a few pots and maybe some armor. Maybe make the percentage of rolling legendary armor on the PvP track and PvE track more likely. Speaking about rolling armor, you already included the golden scarab, which allows us to craft better armor, but I still think that the amount of armor we have to craft is still too high. Maybe reduce it by half, since now if you want to craft best in slot, we still have to craft about 200 armor sets just to roll one best in slot armor. So maybe either give us a way to craft a best in slot item for ourselves by farming certain resources and legendary resources like with new world bosses in the game, which guarantees us a certain type of craft with certain perks that we can choose. But it takes a long time to do it. Maybe it takes us 2 weeks to farm for it or something, but allow us to craft best in slot items by choosing the perks that we want by actually going to farm for something, just like you did with the new corruption trophies. Maybe there's a way we can go and farm a legendary great axe or a weapon or armor piece in the same way by picking up little fragments of that armor piece in the open world and the PvE and in PvE dungeons and so forth. And this should be bind on pickup, and we won't be able to sell this armor set or the fragments that we pick up in the open world. This is a personal quest that we go on for our own armor. Maybe this armor is even some legendary armor or a legendary weapon, and this is how we can get cool legendary weapons or armor that has a specific look and something we can be proud of. Another thing that I want to touch on, we need a better camera in-game. For example, when I want to make content for New World, I will have to ask my friend to take a screenshot of my character just so I can design a thumbnail, I will have to ask a friend to take footage of myself doing something so I can post it in a video. We have no creative ability in New World to create videos. We can't shoot cinematic shots. I see in the trailers of New World that you actually have a camera for cinematic shots and so forth. Why not give that camera to us so we can actually take better screenshots, make better YouTube videos, make better content for New World and promote the game. Just something that I personally want as a creator is a better camera to shoot scenes and so forth. And the last thing I want to touch on is the combat of New World and bugs. There's a lot of small frustrating bugs in New World related to combat. For example, your stuns don't go off, you get stunned while out of the stun. Some weird stuff is happening in combat. Please fix the combat. The combat is not smooth. Somebody has to go over the combat and test all of the perks to make sure all of the perks work. I've been testing perks since the beta of this game, and some of the perks are still broken even from the beta. So please fix the combat. This is not even a request. Your game is going to die if you don't fix your perks and the way things are supposed to work. This is really frustrating since it's been a year and these things don't get fixed. We need smooth content and we need things to work to actually have a competitive game. And yes, some people might say the game is not competitive. I would disagree, since every PvP game is competitive. Doesn't matter if it's just a casual game. Things just need to work, and if they're not working, people are going to leave and get frustrated. I get a lot of negativity towards New World for its combat and the bugginess of the PvP combat and maybe the PvE content. So please, somebody just look over the combat and fix all the small bugs, and maybe not even all the small bugs, but there's some huge bugs and the combat doesn't feel smooth. Learn from other games how to improve your combat. Maybe hire some developer to look at your combat and tell you how to improve it. Get somebody from the outside of the game to look at the combat so you can have new ideas and new ways of thinking about the combat. I also think that the frequency of updates is too low. You guys promise us that you will post less frequent updates, but the quality of the updates will be much better. I don't see that the quality of the updates has improved. I only see the frequency of the updates being less. For example, every middle of the week we get the update and there's only 1 or 2 fixes of bugs. And this is urgent bugs only. It's not some random bug that has been plaguing the game for a whole year. It's just some random bug that your guys are just patching the game so the game isn't totally broken. I want to see some patches where you actually patch old bugs that has been in the game since beta, or for a whole year, or what, even a month, even a week. Just give us more bug patches in the middle of the week, and then with your big content releases you actually give us content and not just a whole bunch of bug fixes. Since bug fixes should be worked on the whole week and get patched every week, and not just 1 or 2 bugs getting patched. Now that I have spoken my mind, what do you want to see from AJS and New World? What's some future content that you want to see? What's your opinion on the development of AJS and how they're doing things? Let me know in the comments, and I hope a developer sees this video but doesn't take it personally. This is just how I feel towards the game and some things that I want to see be improved upon in the game. There's no hard feelings towards the developers. I just want this game to succeed and have the best game possible. And I know I might not have the full picture of how the development works, and it might even be harder than I expect it to be, but this is just speaking my mind, so I'm not attacking AJS or anything. I'm just here making suggestions, and I guess anyone can make a suggestion that isn't 100% totally correct.